No empire before had known such power, such wealth, or such ambition. The Persian Empire ruled not just through war, but through wisdom. The story of Persia didn't end with its visionary founder, Cyrus the Great. In fact, his death marked the beginning of a new chapter, an age where his successors would take his dream and forge it into the largest, most sophisticated empire the world had ever seen. The stage was set for an era of unprecedented conquest, innovation, and cultural brilliance. Following in Cyrus's footsteps was his son Cambyses II. His gaze turned south, toward the ancient and fabulously wealthy kingdom of Egypt. In 525 BC, at the Battle of Pelusium, Cambyses achieved what even the mighty Assyrians and Babylonians could not: the conquest of the land of the pharaohs. With Egypt under its control, the Persian Empire now held the two great cradles of civilization, Mesopotamia and the Nile Valley. But Cambyses' reign was short and fraught with internal strife. Upon his death, a crisis of succession threatened to tear the young empire apart. From this chaos, a new leader emerged, a distant relative of the royal line, a man whose name would become synonymous with Persia's golden age: Darius the Great. Darius was not just a conqueror, he was a master administrator, a genius of logistics and governance. He understood that to control such a vast and diverse territory, brute force was not enough. You needed systems. You needed order. And so he embarked on one of the most ambitious administrative reorganizations in history. He divided the empire into 20 provinces, or satrapies. Each was governed by a satrap, or governor, who was responsible for collecting taxes and maintaining peace. But Darius, ever cautious, created a system of checks and balances. Alongside the satrap, a military general commanded the local troops, and a royal secretary kept a watchful eye on them both, reporting directly back to the king. These officials were known as the eyes and ears of the king, ensuring loyalty and preventing any single governor from becoming too powerful. To bind this sprawling realm together, Darius commissioned the construction of the Royal Road, an engineering marvel that stretched over 1,600 miles from Susa in Persia to Sardis near the Aegean coast. This ancient highway was more than just a road. It was the empire's circulatory system. Stations with fresh horses were placed at regular intervals, allowing royal messengers to cover the entire distance in just 7 days, a journey that would take a normal traveler 3 months. This unprecedented speed of communication allowed Darius to manage his empire with incredible efficiency, dispatching orders and receiving intelligence faster than any ruler before him. The Royal Road wasn't just for official business. It became a bustling artery of commerce. Merchants, scholars, artisans, and pilgrims traveled its length, transforming it into a vibrant corridor for the exchange of goods, ideas, and cultures. For the first time, the West was truly and securely connected to the East. Underpinning this economic vitality was another of Darius's brilliant innovations: a standardized currency. He introduced the daric, a gold coin of remarkable purity stamped with the image of the king, and the silver siglos. This was a revolutionary concept. Before, trade was a complicated barter system or relied on cutting up chunks of precious metal. Now, a merchant from Egypt could do business with a trader from India using the same trusted currency. This stimulated commerce on an epic scale, creating a unified economic zone that stretched across 3 continents and fueled the empire's immense wealth. The taxes, collected fairly and predictably, flowed into the royal treasury, funding grand building projects and a powerful professional army. And what projects they were! Darius was a patron of the arts and architecture on a scale that beggared belief. He initiated the construction of Persepolis, the ceremonial capital of the empire. This was not a city for living in, but a stage for imperial power. Built on a massive stone terrace, its palaces and halls were designed to awe and intimidate. Envoys from every corner of the empire would ascend its grand staircases, their walls decorated with intricate reliefs depicting the diverse peoples of the realm: Medes, Lydians, Ethiopians, Indians, all bringing tribute to the great king. It was a visual representation of the Persian worldview, a harmonious empire of many nations, all united under the benevolent rule of one king. The craftsmanship was exquisite, a fusion of artistic styles from across the empire, a testament to the cultural synthesis that Persia fostered. While Persepolis was the ceremonial heart, the administrative capital was Susa. Here, Darius built a magnificent palace, its splendor described in biblical texts and confirmed by archaeology. Inscriptions found at Susa boast that its cedar wood came from Lebanon, its gold from Lydia, its turquoise from Central Asia, and its ivory from Ethiopia. The palace was a microcosm of the empire itself, a place where the finest materials and greatest talents from across the known world were brought together to create something truly spectacular. But the power of the Persian Empire was not built on gold and stone alone. It had a spiritual core, a unique religious philosophy that shaped its identity, Zoroastrianism. Founded by the prophet Zoroaster centuries earlier, it was one of the world's first monotheistic faiths. It taught the existence of a single, wise creator god, Ahura Mazda, who was engaged in an eternal cosmic struggle against Angra Mainyu, the spirit of darkness and lies. Humans, according to Zoroastrianism, had free will and were called to participate in this struggle by choosing Asha, truth, order, and righteousness, over Druj, the lie. This dualistic worldview, the battle between good and evil, light and darkness, had a profound influence on later religions, including Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For the Persian kings, Zoroastrianism was more than just a personal faith. It was a moral framework for their rule. Darius frequently invoked the name of Ahura Mazda in his inscriptions, claiming that his authority was granted by God to establish justice and fight against the forces of chaos and deception. This gave his reign a powerful moral legitimacy. Unlike previous empires that ruled through fear and brutality, Persia presented itself as a force for order and righteousness in the world. This philosophy of tolerance and respect for other cultures, first established by Cyrus, was continued under Darius. While the king was a follower of Ahura Mazda, he did not force his religion on his subjects. The Jews were allowed to rebuild their temple in Jerusalem, the Egyptians continued to worship their own gods, and the Greeks of Ionia maintained their own traditions. This policy of cultural and religious tolerance was a key ingredient in the empire's long-term stability. The Persian military was the instrument that maintained this Pax Persica, or Persian peace. At its core were the legendary Immortals, an elite heavy infantry force of exactly 10,000 men. They were so named because whenever one was killed or fell ill, he was immediately replaced, keeping their number and strength constant. Clad in ornate armor and carrying devastating bows and spears, they were the king's personal guard and the shock troops of the army. But the full might of the Persian army was its ability to draw upon the diverse military strengths of its subject peoples. Scythian horse archers, Indian war elephants, Phoenician sailors, and Greek hoplites all served under the Persian banner. It was a multinational force, a military reflection of the empire itself, capable of projecting power from the Danube River in Europe to the Indus River in India. The age of Darius the Great was truly the zenith of Persian glory. It was an era where military might was matched by administrative genius, where immense wealth funded breathtaking art, and where a profound spiritual philosophy guided an empire of unprecedented size and diversity. The systems Darius put in place, the roads, the currency, the provincial government, were so effective that they would be copied by conquerors for centuries to come, from Alexander the Great to the Romans. Persia was not just a collection of conquered lands, it was a civilization. It created a world connected by trade, governed by law, and inspired by a vision of cosmic order. This was the legacy of the Achaemenid Empire in its golden age, an empire that ruled not just by the sword, but by a grand and powerful idea. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey back in time. If you were fascinated by the story of the Persian Empire, please hit that like button. And subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the greatest civilizations in history. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.